Bryn asked me to share some information about how I prepare for cooking by myself. Yes, I live currently with my family. I have lived by myself. I have had an apartment by myself. In college, I cooked for myself. So this isn't just, um, you know, me by myself now. So in college, I lived every week on $10. Yes, that was some time ago, but that's what I did. I lived every week, approximately $10. It wasn't like it was a hard and fast $10. What I did was went to the grocery store with a notebook. Um, and obviously $10 then and in Idaho is different than $10 now and in New York. So just keep that in mind. Um, so what I would do is, and obviously I was not trying to build up tons of food storage and I wasn't feeding multiple people, but the same concept is there for anybody. But I would know what I needed to buy um, for a budget. And I would also have like a flex. So I had for breakfast, it was kind of boring and bland, but it was the same thing every day because it was cheap. I bought a giant thing of oatmeal, just that big thing of oatmeal. And if I was living in a not in a college dorm and had the storage, I probably would have bought a giant bag of oatmeal, like the 50 pounder, because that would have been even a better deal. And then would have, worked out the price, where to get that money from so that it would have been an even better deal. Um, I literally big thing of oatmeal, and I would throw on some brown sugar and some nuts and a little bit of water and throw that in the microwave in the morning and have a cup of hot chocolate, and that was my breakfast, and that would hold me over because it was nice and thick and hearty, and it would stick to your guts, and it would hold me over till lunchtime. And that was with walking uphill because I lived at the top of the hill at the time. There was only one other apartment above mine at the top of the hill. That was before the temple in Rexburg. And then and like a big thing of hot chocolate mix. And I now know how to make hot chocolate mix on my own. So I probably could have done it cheaper, but at the time it was nice quick. And then I would shop the circulars, and that's how I really saved. And I would walk through the aisles with my little notebook. And if I knew that something was a really good price and it was the best price, it went in my notebook in one particular section. Like this was a sale price. Sale price was one section, and then next to it was like average good price. So I knew when prices changed, and I knew when prices were like the best price so that I could stock up on that. So if there was a sale on sandwich meat or something, I could buy some more of that. I did get supplemented by having New York cheeses shipped out to me in college because um, they don't have good cheese in Idaho. I don't care what they say. But that was, and my uncle thought it was really funny. I also had shipped out canned meat, and so did my roommates actually. But that's how I survived college. In my apartment, I also did the same thing, but I also would purposefully cook for more than one meal. So, and this sounds funny for a single person to cook more than one meal, but if I'm cooking, it's sometimes hard to cook one meal, like for one person. It really is. You get really good at math sometimes, doing all that math multiplication stuff. But if you cook for more than one meal, then you automatically have freezer meals. You automatically have your lunch for the next day. And I am not a leftover person. I really, really don't like leftovers. But I had to get better at it. I had to. Um, but I'm still not like a third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day leftover person. I really can't. So like 2 days, 3 days, and I'm like, I really can't do this anymore. So what I did in some cases, if I wanted to try a new meal, or I really loved the meal, and it made a lot, and I couldn't find a way to cut down the recipe enough, I just got together with friends and I would make the meal and we'd kind of exchange recipes so that or exchange portions of the meal so that I was getting something new for my fridge or my freezer, and they were getting something new for their fridge or their freezer, so that it was I was still cooking one meal, but I was getting multiple meals from the same effort. And then if I was ever cooking something new, I wanted to try a new recipe, but that's always a scary proposition when you're by yourself, because what if it's not good and you have all this left over, right? So that's when you invite friends over, you have a party, or you take it to work and you just tell your work friends, hey, that's what we're doing. I'm bringing lunch. Bring a backup just in case it's really bad, but I'm bringing lunch. I want to try this new recipe. You got to tell me how it is. And then you bring it. And sometimes what they'll do also is they'll reciprocate and they'll bring in a meal for you another day. So it actually works out really well in the pocketbook area. And then, so that's how I worked my meals. It actually works out very well for in the month, and if you're concerned about money, because when you cook, when sometimes when you're trying to cook small, you try to buy less, and that's not really the best way. You want to buy in bulk, and as someone once said, you want to treat your future self nice. So if you see that the bigger package is cheaper, buy the bigger package and then divide it up and freeze it. And so, like, I like to eat peppers. I like to just take a whole pepper, chop it up, put it in a bag, and then maybe like nosh on it a little bit later. So I like to go to Costco and I like to buy the 6-pack. I can't eat the 6-pack before it goes bad, but I love to have chopped up peppers to throw in a soup or to throw in some broth and make like a pseudo soup. So I buy the 6-pack and then I have 2 or 3 to nosh on, and then as the other 3, as I realize I'm not going to get to the other 3, I take those other 3 and some go into strips if I'm thinking, okay, maybe fajita coming up later, or I cut the others up into cubes and they're instantly ready for any soup that's coming up. And they just go in the freezer and they're ready. You can do the same thing with celery because it's very nice and hearty. You can do the same thing with onions so that they're ready to go. If you're living by yourself and you're cooking a small meal, and I'm not a big onion fan, so I do this anyways because I don't like lots of onions in my menus, but I'm getting better, my mom's probably giggling about this. I'm getting better about putting an onion into my recipes because it adds a nice flavor. Don't giggle, Mom. So I take maybe half an onion, especially when I would get HelloFresh meals to try something new, force me out of my comfort zone. They would send shallots, and that's a much stronger flavor than an onion. So I'd be like, cut half of that, and I would cut up the other half and put it in the freezer so it was ready for another meal. If you could see carrots on sale, carrots are nice and strong, and they hold up really well in the freezer as well. Last 3 summers ago, my friend and I, we got a huge bag of carrots on sale and we spiralized them all. And the spiralizer it worked, but it didn't work. So we ended up with like these little half C's of carrots and in the freezer. And it was actually really great. We got a couple ham steaks and we ended up making ham soup. Like a ham, yeah, it's ham soup all the time. We'll just throw in a couple handfuls of carrots and chop up some ham steaks and just pull them out all the time. And it was super easy, quick soup to make. So it loved having those frozen carrots because of that. So there's just little things you can do to treat yourself nice in the future because you bought bulk, even if you're a single person. But yeah. And for the recipe, Bryn suggested a recipe, and I will send the recipe to Bryn. But my favorite recipe actually came from a gift that I got, and I always encourage that this is a possible gift that you can give to somebody else. This gift I got from Shoshana in a cute little jar, and it is cake for one, because sometimes you want a dessert and you don't have any ice cream because you're trying to be good. And so the cake for one was perfect. It's actually sometimes a little bit too much because you're like, no, I'm trying to be good, and you really want a dessert, but you don't want a dessert, so you could probably cut it in half. So if you got 2 people and you're really trying to be good, but for the most part, I totally eat the entire thing. But it's chocolate cake in a mug that goes in the microwave. I usually throw on nuts and chocolate chips, and it's so good. That's what I do. Hope this is helpful. You're welcome to ask more questions. I know that I talk kind of fast, so I'm sorry. Have a good day.